This is the performing songwriter, and my name is Ray Naylor. My guest today is James B. McCarthy. James is a singer, songwriter, storyteller, actor, and all-around performer. His songs are rooted in American and Celtic acoustic traditions. He is originally from Philadelphia, but has been living in Hawaii for a number of years. There's much to talk to James about, but before we do, we're going to listen to one of his original songs here on The Performing Songwriter.
It's great to be here on Performing Songwriter with Ray Naylor. This first song is called Natural Man. It's about the way that animals behave that we can learn from. Just recently I was over at my dad's, and my dad has a sun porch with a little low deck, and there's a groundhog that lives under the sun porch. While I was playing, the groundhog came and sat up and peeked his head over the edge of the deck and sat there and listened for 7 minutes while I played. So I think he kind of knew what was going on. I think we can learn something from animals. This is called Natural Man. Somewhere off the Antarctic coast there's a penguin just rolling in the ocean. He doesn't care about New York City or its problems with perpetual motion. He's as cool as he needs to be, he doesn't need a fan. Got his tuxedo on, doesn't worry about a tan. Lord, he's just a natural man, yeah, yeah, natural man. Way in a Kenyan forest there's a leopard swinging in the trees. Up on a Himalayan mountaintop, a Yeti, just as cool as can be, rolling down the peaks to the edge of the ocean. He doesn't need a conceptual notion. Lord, he's just a natural man, yeah, yeah, a natural man. Way up in Yellowstone Park in the land of moose and geysers, a beaver smiles his smile for you, then he stops and sharpens his incisors, knocking down spruce and pine, that's the way he jams. He doesn't need no condo, he's swinging in the dam. Lord, he's just a natural man, yeah, yeah, natural man. Way in a Kenyan forest there's a leopard swinging in the trees. Up on a Himalayan mountaintop, a Yeti, just as cool as can be, rolling down the peak to the edge of the Ganges, humming a little tune and snapping his phalanges. Lord, he's just a natural man, yeah, yeah, a natural man. You know that he is a natural man, yeah, yeah, a natural man, a natural man, natural man.
James McCarthy, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. It's really cool.
I was reading on your website that as a kid you used to go to the Philadelphia Folk Festival.
Yeah.
And that you were influenced by some of the artists that you saw at that time.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and how they did influence you.
Well, it was the first one was 1968. So it was John Denver. It was the first time I heard of John Denver, or saw John Denver. First time I heard of or saw Joni Mitchell. It turned out that Bob Gibson's daughters were there, and they befriended me, and because they were friends with Joan Baez, so I met Joan Baez. I met Phil Ochs. I was already a big fan. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, watching people like them, and Utah Phillips, especially like Utah Phillips and John Prine and David Bromberg, of course, and Garnet Rogers, and those kind of guys who could weave a spell just standing in front of an audience, just themselves,
right.
Who could run the gamut from really heartbreaking to totally hilarious. That somehow scratched an itch for me, and I've always pursued that. And I actually used to go to the folk festival and to the Main Point and take notes about things that they did, and then try to integrate that, and of course try to get gigs where you could do that, which sometimes is not so easy.
Well, when did you start performing?
My first real performances were in church. I was part of when I was like a freshman in high school, I got to be part of a innovative program through the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, where we were doing folk masses, and that really wasn't being done. So when I was 14, I helped to initiate folk masses, and then within about 6 months, there was 500 people coming to the masses. So I saw right away. So that was really the first performance, but in church it's a little bit different. And then I just wanted to do it more. So I was in plays. So I performed as an actor. But then when I went to college, Livingston College, Rutgers University, I did more like movement performances and acting and music. But my first real gig was when I was 19 at a place in Corning, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would have been about how long ago, would you say?
Can
you think back that far?
Antediluvian, right? The early 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've been living in Hawaii for a number of years.
Yeah.
And what brought that about?
I went there to do my second graduate degree. I had been working in education, helped to start a school in Virginia, a private school in Oakland, Virginia, and then was looking for the possibility of moving on to teaching college. So I looked for a Master's of Fine Arts program, and they offered me a pretty good ride, and so I moved out there and stayed. And as it turned out in that particular program, because it has a lot of Asian influence, people really like to put music into their performances. So, and I was the only musician in the department, or pretty much the only musician. So I got a lot of practice while I was there. And then I decided to stay. One thing led to another, and eventually.
So you were in Honolulu, is that correct?
I'm in Honolulu. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
It is pretty nice. We don't have near the number of open mics. In fact, because I play Irish music, when we first went around to clubs and saying to them, well, it's going to be St. Patrick's Day, do you want Irish music? They were like, well, why would we do that? and then over the time, now it's a big thing. So, a lot of things I had to sort of get started myself.
Now, what's kind of cool with you in terms of like everything that you do? I mean, you've done kids things, you did solo, you have a band, or you had a band, I'm not sure whether your band is still together. A storyteller, actor, probably more. Now, is this something that evolved over time, or was this a conscious plan on your part so that you'd have a variety of things that you could perform?
That's a really good question. I think when you're here, when you're a performer, I think that was one of the great things, like seeing John Prine and Steve Goodman together. It's like those guys were actors. Seeing the kind of chameleonic ability of John Denver to transform like his own energy and the energy of the room. That's acting. And I remember when I was in my 20s, I said, well, maybe I'll get a degree in music and a degree in theater and a degree in education. All really high-paying things, right? Where I could really make a lot of money. And then that just sort of happened, went one right thing to another. And I think it's really because as I think about it, what's the center of all those things is that it's somehow human to human. It's part of the oral tradition, part of the task of a person that's a Shanachie or a bard or troubadour or griot to be all those things. But I like them all. The storytelling is great because in Hawaii there's not a lot of paid theater. And that way I don't have a lot of arguments with the director, and I actually get to, if it's just me booking myself, then I actually get paid a little bit better. And so it's a really good question, and I ponder it a lot.
Now, your last name is McCarthy, so
That's
I
right.
assume that your heritage is Irish.
It is.
And in addition to doing Irish music, have you found that style of music plays into your own original songs, and if so, how
Yeah, definitely. Well, playing with the band was called Duel and Rakes. It was a really popular band, Electric Irish.
Uh-huh.
And I'm fortunate to have a good friend, Derek Orfield and the Young Wolf Tones, and his work really inspired me to see like how can you be true to a tradition and also true to yourself. So in other words, writing songs about the 1798 uprising are not really that's not me, but what do I know? I know the Irish American experience. So I've written actually an Irish song cycle that song Five Points is part of, and then there's a song called Fields of Pennsylvania, and there's a few others that are from the various times in history for the Irish Americans, and then my own experiences in Irish American, which in this case is a song about whiskey.
Well, the Fields of Pennsylvania, we actually played a little bit of that video under when I was doing the introduction.
Oh, great!
So that's
great.
That's what that was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now you had put together a one-man show called Stripes and Stars: A Surprising History of the U.S. Have you done other things like that, or is that?
I've done a number of things like that. Like for instance, there was as you can imagine, people who work on the docks is really important in Honolulu. Mm-hmm. And there was a company. It was their 100th anniversary, so they came to me and asked me to become one of the founders and talk at their 100th anniversary party. So I guess it's I've gotten known as doing living history things. Then I also worked with a number of museums doing, contemporary museums doing art off the wall. So we look at contemporary art and then create a performance based on that. Either
cool.
Storytelling or movement, or we'll work with dancers,
right.
Or fast visual artists and create a soundscape for that, or actual rework a story that I already know. So Stripes and Stars was commissioned by Honolulu Theater for Youth, which is one of the oldest children's theaters in the country. It was their 50th anniversary, and they picked me to do the first ever one-man show that they ever did, and they wanted to do, because it was also the 50th anniversary of Hawaii's statehood, so they wanted to do something that spanned American history. So it was quite an undertaking. So I played all the characters, played 5 different instruments, wrote a few songs for it, wrote a song about Ruination Day, not the Gillian Welch song, but actually that tells the story of the various events of Ruination Day.
Well, I forgot to say you're also a multi-instrumentalist. What are all the instruments that you play?
Well, primarily I'm a vocalist. I think that's what got me into it, so I could sing, and guitar, mandolin, ukulele, mostly tenor banjo, a little bit of violin, jinghu, which is the Chinese 2-string fiddle, and a bunch of different Asian instruments. And
what's cool about all these different things that you do? There was a guy in Philly who has passed away a number of years ago named Mike Miller. I don't know if you're familiar
I know
with
his
Mike.
name from hearing everyone talk about him.
And Mike always said, if all you wanted, if you think you can have a career in music by playing in coffee houses, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to have a variety of things that you're doing, and that's exactly what it seems to me like what you've been doing.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And I think that's one thing you need to do in Honolulu. I mean, I grew up with the art scene. I was actually part of reinventing downtown Honolulu through the arts, through Art Center and starting an artist lofts, and it's really just trying to provide opportunities. Not only like you're doing, I really appreciate what you do, and Michael Bromfeld does, and various people in various cities to try to provide opportunities not only for ourselves but for other people to,
We're gonna hear some more of your songs.
That's awesome.
And before that, I'm going to play a part of a video. Originally, this next show, the show today, was going to be John Beecher.
Oh.
But then he's not coming in for a couple of weeks, and you're around, and I said, why don't you come on in, James?
Okay.
But anyway, so we've actually played this video the last show I just did. But it's John Beecher, and the name of this song is called Saturn Returns. So we'll watch some of the video here, and then James will be back singing more of his songs.
In a castle made of flesh and bone, in the tower of my mind, I am alone. In a crowded room of memories, stranded and down on my knees. So I spread them out on the floor of dreams, and how I feel is what it means. And I know the truth deep inside my heart. If only that, then that's where I'll start. Somewhere in the distance doesn't bother me. Everything I've ever done is mystery. Now's about the only place I wanna be. 'Cause Saturn has returned. Yeah, my eyes have been burned. Oh, the fountain of youth, well, it springs from the well of truth.
On September 10th of 2011, I got a call from my friend Tom Bianchi, who was running an event at the Burn in Somerville, Massachusetts. And he said, since you're featured tomorrow night, I wonder if you could think of something to do for September 11th. And I really couldn't think of anything to do. So I wrote this song. This is called 5 Points. I came over here from Derry in the year of '83. The fighting and the troubles had got too much for me. When Bobby died and they bombed the bus, I had to get away. Thought I'd find more peace and quiet over in America. And I got a job like my granddad did after another war. And I wore the badge in the coat of blue along the Hudson shore. And I walked the blocks from 5 Points up to West 4th Street, memorizing every sidewalk crack, every face upon the beat. I found no peace and quiet within the traffic's hum. I could not forget the troubles of the place where I come from. Well, I dated women here and there, but none that would quite do, until I met Bridget Jenkins. And you know what they say is true, that when you meet the one for you, no other can compare. And our love, it never faded with the graying of our hair. And we walked the blocks from 5 Points up to West 4th Street, laughing on the sidewalk and skipping to the beat. And I found my peace and quiet within the traffic's hum. I forgot about the troubles of the place where I'd come from. She worked for years in an office at the WTC. I always liked that feeling that she was watching over me. Not a one of you that's listening don't know what I'm about to say. Planes came in, the towers came down, they took my love away. And I stumbled up from 5 Points up to West 4th Street. There was ash in every sidewalk crack and tears on every street. And I lost my peace and quiet, sure there was no traffic's hum. And I found myself wondering, which way does trouble come? For they try to make me bitter, and they say I should be mad. But I'm not the only one who lost the only love he had. From Baghdad to Londonderry and to the Hudson shore, the nearest lost are the dearest cost and the highest price of war. I still walk the block from 5 Points up to West 4th Street. I know every sidewalk crack, every face on every street. And I find some peace and quiet within the traffic's hum. But I find myself wondering, which way does trouble come? This next song is also an urban landscape. I was in Chicago, the famed Windy City. It's usually very chilly, but it was 113 degrees for about 4 or 5 days. People didn't go out, pretty much stayed in the apartment and stayed in the air conditioning. But other things can happen. City lights, concrete fries, headlights catch us as the night boys ride. Cool apartment, steaming sheets. There ain't no wind down them windy city streets. In the alley by a garden wall, you beside me, yeah, the wild, wild, 'cause I'm leaving tomorrow. Got no fear, yes, and your sorrow get nearer to me, nearer to me. Remember the night, the concrete fried, headlights catch us as the night boys ride. In the alley by a garden wall, you beside me, yeah, the wild, 'cause I'm leaving tomorrow. Got no fear, yes, and your sorrow get nearer to me, nearer to me, yeah. Night, that time the concrete fried, headlights catch us as the night, headlights catch us as the night boys ride. In the alley by a garden wall, you beside me, yeah, the wild, 'cause I'm leaving tomorrow. Got no fear, yes, and your sorrow get nearer to me, nearer to me. Yes, I'm leaving tomorrow, but I got no fear, yes, and your sorrow, baby, get nearer to me, nearer to me. Nearer, 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 nearer to me. I happened to be on this film called To End All Wars. Had a great cast. I was very fortunate to have a speaking part in it. Kiefer Sutherland, Robert Carlyle, Mark Strong, a number of actors from Akira Kurosawa's films. And a torture scene was scheduled in which bugs were going to crawl on one of the actors' faces. And when you looked on the call sheet that day, instead of saying electrician or key grip or whatever your role was, it said bug wrangler. Like W-R-A-N-G-L-E-R, Bug Wrangler. And I thought, that's a song. That's Bug Wrangler, W-R-A-N-G-L-E-R. Well, you can take you and your little tags from Chaco Canyon all the way up to Cheyenne. You might hear people talk of a guy that's beloved in the hearts and minds of the people, but nobody's ever sung a song about him, but I figured I'd give it a try. He eschewed his mama's hugs, lying on the living room rug, collecting lots of little bugs. He's the bug wrangler. Down among the stems and reeds, wrangling up some centipedes, enticing them with guts and seeds, bug wrangler. He started out small and stayed that way. He's gonna wrangle bugs till his dying day. Spelling B-U-G-W-R-A-N-G-L-E-R. Well, he wasn't afraid of their pins and needles. If he saw a bug he'd like, he'd wheedle it by singing a song sung by the Beatles, Bug Wrangler. Get it? From Ecuador to El Paso and Beijing to Burkina Faso, with his magic tiny lasso, Bug Wrangler. He started out small and stayed that way. He's gonna wrangle bugs till his dying day. B-U-G-W-R-A-N-G-L-E-R. While other wranglers, they would squirm and get OCD about catching germs, he'd be out collecting worms, Bug Wrangler. While other wranglers drank their beers to overcome their insect fears, they could only rustle steers, a Bug Wrangler. He started out small and stayed that way. He's gonna wrangle bugs till his dying day. Spell it B-U-G-W-R-A-N-G-L-E-R. Now hearing this song might make you think of a time that you heard about a guy that was walking down the street with 400 monarch butterflies festooned upon his hat. Or another guy that whistled and 6,000 grasshoppers jumped into the back of his pickup truck. Well, if you know those stories, or you know anybody that does know those stories, or heck, if you just want to make them up, we want you to send them in to us at insectcowboy.org. That's INSECTCOWBOY.org. It's a 501c3 dedicated to the proposition that more people should treat insects the way most people treat ungulates. While other wranglers, they would squirm and get OCD about catching germs, he'd be out collecting worms, Bug Wrangler. From Ecuador to El Paso and Beijing to Burkina Faso, with his magic tiny lasso, Bug Wrangler. He started out small and stayed that way. He's gonna wrangle bugs till his dying day. B-U-G-W-R-A-N-G-L-E-R. B-U-G-W-R-A. Bug Wrangler, Wrangler, Wrangler.
So that was a slide of some of the shows we're going to have in the next couple of months, and please join us then. Now, the name of the band you mentioned before, Doolin Rakes.
Doolin Rakes, yeah.
Are they still going to be playing as a band? I had the impression that...
No, it's disbanded.
Disbanded.
Yeah, 12 years.
That's a long time.
Pretty good run.
Is
Yeah,
that the only band you ever had?
No, there was another band called Friends of the Bride, which is the motto is Demented Sense of American Music, and they're still around. They're called Hamajang. They're in Hawaii, and I have a band that we plays occasionally, sort of experimental Afro-Celt, and that's called the Crackpot, spelled C-R-A-I-C. But mostly I've been doing solo. I mean, that's why I'm on the East Coast, to try to do more solo stuff.
I'm going to throw you a curve here.
Okay.
Because you're a storyteller.
Okay.
Do you have a real short story you can tell?
Yeah, tell me how short.
I don't know, a few minutes.
Okay. Is that a joke?
It could be a joke, yeah.
All right, so my friend Petter Hickey, who plays for Derek Warfield and the Young Wolf Tones, is walking down the street, and he sees a bottle there on a strand there in Ireland, and he picks up the bottle and he rubs it, and a genie comes out, gigantic, huge muscles, teeth as large as boulders, and looks down at Petter and says, "You have freed me, you get 3 free wishes." And Petter thinks for a minute and says, I'd like a bottle, what did he say? I'd like an endless bottle of Guinness. "Done," says the genie, and he takes that endless bottle of Guinness. He goes home, and his wife says, "You're crazy." But he fills up the sink, he fills up the bathtub, he calls up his mates. Everybody drinks, and the next few days they drink. They go down to the pub, they go to the next town. It's great. It really is an endless bottle of Guinness. After about 3 weeks, his friends say, "Hey, Petter, you got 2 more wishes. What are you going to do?" He says, I almost forgot. And he went back to the bottle, and he rubs it, and the genie comes out, and he says, "Mere human, you have 2 more wishes." And Petter says, "Right, I've been thinking about that. All right, you know that endless bottle of Guinness you gave me? I'd like 2 more just like it."
That reminds me of another joke, but I can't tell it.
Oh, you can't tell in this?
No, I
okay,
can't
in this
tell
context.
You do children's shows.
Yeah, I love working with kids.
Better you than me, but I was. That's good. It's
To each his own. Yeah.
Yeah, each his own. How does talk a little bit about that? How does that look?
Well, I work in the classroom a lot a lot of my day job when I'm back in Hawaii during the school year is as a teaching artist. So I'll go into the classroom, I'll design particular activities to help teach various kinds of content and various ages. When I'm with kids and when I'm with a family audience, a lot of times I start out completely miming, just getting them to follow along with me, and then I throw in some curveballs about what they think is going to happen next as I'm miming, and then we create this connection, and from there we go to like a call and response and build up the call and response so they're engaged with what I'm doing, and then I just steer the bus so we have a rollicking good time, and sometimes tell a ghost story to quiet it down and then bring it back up. A lot of singing. It's a blended performing art, so it's storytelling, acting, and music together. All of us working together. Yeah.
Well, the Philadelphia Folk Song Society has a thing called the Odyssey program, something like that would be perfect.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I would love to do that. I actually had talked to one of the old directors about it, but I think we never just put it up. Are you involved in that?
I'm not.
Oh,
no.
Maybe you can tell me who is, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
We have one of your CDs. You have a number of CDs.
Yeah.
And this one is called Now the New Now the New Later. That's hard to say. And how many recordings do you have altogether?
I have 3 solo. One of the other ones is about to get re-released digitally. There's this one, and the one that's also available on Spotify, CD Baby, and is called Flyin' Singin', and that's mostly original except for one old ballad. This is all original, and it's a spectrum because some of the work I do is kind of kids, and some is Celtic, and some is just bare my soul, and some of it's jazzy. So that's a mix. So I'm hoping at some point I'll do one. It's all jazzy, all kids.
Any like immediate plans for recording for you?
The most immediate plan is to re-release a solo Irish one that I did recently called Emerald Shores, and I want to have that back out in time for the Galway Bay Irish Music Festival in Ocean Shores, Washington, at the end of October. So that's coming right up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people want to learn about your music, see where you're going to be performing,
yeah,
what's the best way to do that?
JamesBMcCarthy.com. I'm dropping the B in there.
Yeah.
B stands for Benedict because there's another James McCarthy on Spotify, but you'll
okay.
you'll recognize right away that it's not me. He's good, but it's completely different. So yeah, jamesbmccarthy.com for the music stuff, and also James B. McCarthy performance page, and jamesbmccarthy.wordpress.com is about the work I do in education with kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so great to be here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, really appreciate you having me.
And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with John Beecher. Hope to see you then.